Welcome back to Romantasy Chaos HQ, the podcast. I am Avery Harleston, and this is a very special Fourth Wing bonus episode. This is your warning. There will be spoilers for the entire Empyrean series. If you haven't read all three books, it may be time to turn back. But if you're sticking around, time's a ticking. So don't blink, don't scroll, don't let Taryn distract you. I have 600 seconds to convince you I know who the new Venom brother is. And go.
All right. So first, a little bit of background and assumptions. Rebecca Yarros said she put clues in here in the text to make this figure outable. It is not supposed to be a mystery, just like she thought that the second signet from Andarna that Violet manifested in Iron Flame was clear, and she felt like she made that obvious. And then when we got to Onyx Storm, it was. She said that she put enough into Onyx Storm to be able to figure out who the Venom brother is. So I take that to mean that this is a character that we as the readers already know. And the use of the term both sibling and brother by Xaden, but not the term sister, means that this is not a female identifying character. We know that the new brother is bonded to a dragon, that the dragon flew to this canyon and was snared and brought down with a net, just like Taryn and Sigil were. And we know that this is a reference to a new brother, meaning this is someone who only recently turned venin. Otherwise, Xaden would have already known that this individual was venin because remember, initiates are all traceable to each other. He would have been able to tell if they had been venin before. Rebecca Yarros did say that everyone who turns venin does so because they feel like what they've been given isn't enough. And we see that firsthand from Xaden in what happens in Iron Flame, his actual account of it at the beginning of Onyx Storm. When he draws, it's because he feels like the power he's been given from Sigil isn't enough. He he needs more power for his signet. So when she says that they haven't been given enough, this could be philosophical or metaphysical, but I really think it means they just don't have enough magic for their signet. So they are turning to continue to be powerful magically and power their signet. And do whatever their signet needs them to do. And we can assume that the new brother drew for this purpose, or hypothetically could have drawn for other reasons, but I think that this is going to be true that they're really drew to help give power to their signet. Now, she also said, Rebecca Yarros has also said there's a clear timeline overlap between various chapters. And she provides alternative points of view at the end of the book because Violet can't be everywhere at the same time, but we need to know what's happening there. So the weather and the geography are important clues to eliminating potential candidates. For instance, the dragons are grounded during the tornado. That's really important. The Madaro Pass is located north of Drathis. There's an open field of vision from the Madaro Pass to the city of Drathis. Rhiannon describes this clear view of that field, that plain that separates the pass from the city. And all of the fighting, she has a very clear view of the fighting that's happening above the city of Drathis from where she's stationed at the Madaro Pass. No one can fly from the pass to the city without being in this very open field. Uh, and then also the canyon where Xaden is with Berwyn and the new brother is south of the city of Drathis. So to get from the pass to the canyon, you would have to go over this very visible field. And then you'd have to fly over or around or through Drathis and continue south of the city. I think that means that anyone in second squad, with the exception of Auric, because during Rhiannon's chapter she does not know where Auric is, but anyone in second squad like Sawyer or Riddick, as well as Brennan, who we know is stationed at the top of the Madaro Pass, continuing to heal Mira and her dragon, they would have had to cross this field and get across Drathis to get into the canyon. There's no accounting of any dragons doing this, and since Rebecca Yarros has said this is figure outable and she's put the clues in there, I'm going to say that we can eliminate any characters who are stationed at the pass as the new brother. Also, remember the weather is being manufactured by Theophany. She makes the rain, she causes the tornado, she causes the exact way that the tornado is moving. Violet says it's not natural. And then when she's engaged in fighting with Violet, She's really weaponizing the weather to help her win the fight, either as something as a deterrent to Violet or a distraction for Violet. That weather is aimed at Violet and Terran specifically, or intended to prevent them from getting assistance from others. By the time we get into chapter 64, when Violet and Theophany are fighting one on one, Theophany is not worried about the weather. It's pretty much clearing up. There's sun shining in the east, there's sun shining in the south, and Theophany is really focused on Violet, and that's important. So if we eliminate the characters that we don't really know well, or that are not dragon riders, that are female, that are in second squad and are stationed at the pass, that really leaves our main candidates are Garrick, Bodhi, and Auric as the most likely dragon riders who could have become the new brother. They're male, they're not existing venin, and they are potentially in the right place at the right time. But when we really focus down, what we want to focus on is the events of chapters 63, 64, and 65, plus the tiny tail end of chapter 62. We have a timestamp there. We know that these events all take place in less than a 30-minute window of time. So the events of chapter 65, which is Zayden's point of view chapter, probably unfold over the course of 10 to 20 minutes, given the extent of Zayden's big shadow show and all of the wyvern that he kills and everything that he does when he is drawing from the earth. So at the end of Zayden's chapter, the wards are up in Dreyfus, but the troops, the reinforcement troops, have not arrived. So the chapter ends sometime before that 30-minute window, probably 25 to 28 minutes after that countdown has started. It could even be sooner than that. The events of chapter 64 overlap with the events of chapter 65 and 63. Some examples are, we know that Zayden's shadows knocks down Theophany and Violet passes out at the end of chapter 64, and we see that from Zayden's point of view in chapter 65. But also with chapter 63, the tornado slowing down, the emerging sunshine, these are clues to when Imogen's chapter is taking place. And then the events in chapter 63, which is Imogen's point of view chapter, must unfold over the course of maybe 15 to 25 minutes. Now, this includes the time when she's flying above Dreyfus and they're taking down Wyvern, and she's having that really great discussion with Glain. And then she fights with Dane on the city walls, and she chases down the venin, and she sits with Quinn as Quinn is dying, and she's rescued by Garrick, and they go in and they see that the professors are weaving the wards, and there's not enough alloys, so she calls all of the other riders within the city to come and put their daggers together so that they can have enough alloy to get the wards up. Her chapter ends before the wards at Dreyfus are up. So we know her chapter does end before Zayden's chapter ends, but not very much before, because the wards come up at the end of chapter 65. So there's an overlap between the end of chapter 63 and the beginning of chapter 65, because the wards are not up, they're in this compressed time frame. That means anyone who appears at the end of chapter 63 cannot be the new venin brother, because he has to be with Zayden during that whole chapter 65, and the overlap with the amount of time that has elapsed in Imogen's chapter means that it must end after Zayden's chapter has started. That means that we can eliminate Bodhi and Garrick from consideration. They can't be in two places at the same time. And because it's figure outable, if you want to say that there's some time travel element, that really goes against the principle that it's figure outable, because that would be a completely new signet, a completely new power that we have no frame of reference for. That would make it unfigure outable. That would make it only something that we can get to with a big jump and adding and making up information. If we're just looking at the data on the page, it really proves that this is Auric. But what really actually reinforces that it's Auric are the multiple mentions of Molvik being in the same vicinity of the canyon. So Auric flies south to meet the Allied troops in chapter 58. When we see him in chapter 62, he's already gone and returned from meeting the troops. And that is the beginning of our 30-minute clock. So because the events of chapter 63, 64, and 65 overlap, the dragon The new brother's dragon must be brought down by Berwyn's net before the events of chapter 65 start. Because the dragon is already trapped and unconscious when that chapter starts, Mulvik is in the perfect position to be brought down by the net at exactly the right time. And Bodhi's dragon and Garrick's dragon are not in the right place because they're in Dreyfus. It really leaves Auric as the only viable candidate for the new Venom brother. And that is our time.
All right, so there's a lot of other support for why Auric is the new Venom brother, which we cover on our Instagram. But let us know in the comments. Are you convinced that the new brother is Auric? Why or why not? If you want to download these timelines, we are making them free on our website, which is romantasychaoshq.com. We'll also link to it from our Instagram page, which is at Axe Harleston. That's at AXHARLESTON. We hope this was fun and insightful. And remember, we love you. Stay out of the clouds, off the ice, and come back to us. We'll see you next time.